Hi, everyone, and welcome to the AwardsWatch Podcast. I am your host and editor-in-chief of AwardsWatch, Erik Anderson. And we just had the 2025 BAFTAs. It's Sunday, February 16th. So we are going to talk about that and a little bit more. I've got with me executive editor Ryan McQuade.
Hello, hello.
God, no. And associate editor Sophia Ciminello.
Hi, everyone. I'm not
Yeah.
going to do the British accent, but I knew Ryan would.
Yeah,
He has it covered for both of us.
it feels like a bellwether.
Just a spoonful of BAFTA helps the season go down.
Wow. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you didn't know you were getting a dinner and a show, did you, folks?
What's that? It's Jeff Goldblum on the piano.
Oh my God.
Because that's the only way we can get Wicked on the stage. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
They
a
actually got on
choice.
the stage a few times
Yeah,
this
they
this
did
time.
for the exact things
Little Spy Kid sets. Yeah.
that they.
That happened last year. That was Poor
Yeah,
Things.
man. They really love a theme, you know?
Yeah, the Cheesecake Factory.
Exactly.
Yeah,
They look like shit.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
I'm just
How does
saying.
the movie that is about architecture not win production design? I can just explain that to me. Anyway, sorry. Tangent done.
Yeah, there's that. Sure. But let's just run through these and kind of how the day went, well, the evening in London, uh, because it was kind of wonky. It didn't feel like a lot was making sense, but it also felt exactly like it was supposed to be. It was either going to be Conclave or Brutalist kind of marching its way through, but you were getting these 1 and 2 wins and nothing was dominating. We weren't getting anything in the realm of sweeps, which we've seen from BAFTA before. And obviously, this is all coming right after DGA and PGA and WGA, which all went for Anora. And we got Conclave here. I don't think that was much of a surprise. I don't think it's a surprise to anyone here, but let me ask Sophia first. Does Conclave make sense here at BAFTA because it's Conclave?
It makes a lot of sense here at BAFTA because it's Conclave and because it's a film by Edward Berger. If we look back to All Quiet on the Western Front and that's surprised dominance, I think, at the BAFTAs, I think we can look at Conclave, which had even more appeal. I think going in with this group, it was the nomination leader. And if you look back historically at nomination leaders in BAFTA, they tend to clean up with wins. And so I think where I was surprised was that it didn't win casting because I thought, okay, if Rafe Fiennes has a shot, casting is a relatively new category, but it does tend to align with at least one acting winner. So I expected maybe it will get casting. But then it also got Best British Film, which a lot of times the British film doesn't, that doesn't overlap with the Best Film prize. So I thought, okay, maybe it's not winning, but I think it really did land in the categories where we expected it might if it was strong. Editing, adapted screenplay. I do think it's odd that it winning Best Film and those awards, it didn't get an actor somewhere, but I think our acting, I won't say quartet because we'll talk about actress, but I think actor, and supporting actress were just too strong maybe for anyone else to come in and take one of those away.
Yeah,
But not surprising.
the British film and film win was interesting because sometimes British film feels like a like a runner-up prize. It's
Like
like,
Belfast.
yeah, it's like, yes, we're
Yeah.
BAFTA and we can't quite give it best film, but we really want to, so we're giving it British film.
Hmm.
Ryan, what did you think of Conclave winning at the top and then having, a relatively, I mean, I want to say meager haul?
I think it was like a fine haul. I wouldn't say it was like a dominance like All Quiet on the Western Front was.
Yeah, four
Um,
wins.
I mean, they're Burger Boys.
No score, thank God.
You know, they love a burger movie. You know what I mean? And they like that patty medium well. Clearly, because this is like a movie for old people, so they could help them chew. They haven't won like the best British film and best picture at the BAFTAs haven't lined up since the King's Speech.
Yeah,
The first time that's happened, and then before that, you have to go like way back in the time machine.
that's what I mean.
It's very rare.
So when it won British film, it was like, oh, okay, so it's not winning.
Yeah,
Right.
So for it to be a well done burger, it is actually pretty rare. But anyway,
Oh my God.
this is the path though that all the burger boys out there that are still hanging on to the prediction of Conclave have for this movie. They have editing, they have screenplay, and they have picture. So that still kind of keeps that alive. But you know, there are other places that it can easily win. We haven't seen really in the expansion. I'm talking about like the expansion. We haven't seen over the last couple of years a path like that just happen without an acting win, to Sophia's point. So the casting or Ray Fiennes or even a surprise for Isabella Rossellini or needed to kind of happen today for me to really 100% take this movie seriously as our best picture winner. And I don't think Fiennes is going to win SAG and then win the Oscar. That's not going to happen at all. And it's probably just never been on the table for him. And, and that's okay. Ensemble is, we'll talk about SAG here in a little bit and what, if today's and the guild's indications are going to, how the race is going to play with that. But I thought The Brutalist was another film that could potentially have won this, because if they didn't want to go with with Berger, and because they just did the All Quiet on the Western Front thing, the Brutalist felt like a movie completely within the realm of what they were going to do. And I mean, that had 4 wins today, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
It had the score win, which is a huge win for it, I think. And then Adrien Brody solidifying himself as the best actor winner, in my opinion. And then having
Corbet,
which was a bit of a not surprise, but it just throws an interesting wrinkle into this race and clearly showing where the international side of things lie and where the DGA lie as well with theirs. And I still, we're going to have to play like a coin toss going into it. And, there could be a lot of people that use this now and then go, oh, The Brutalist is clearly going to win. But we talked about it last week as well, too, that this There Will Be Blood narrative is building for The Brutalist. Maybe they add score to it, in a 3-win haul. And that seems very likely. But
wouldn't it be funny, though, if it played exactly like that and it was just actor and
cinematography? It
depends who the score winner would be, if I would find that like funny or exciting or not.
Yeah, I'm not sure funny would be like any of the responses,
but it's very
I would
possible
have to how that breaks down. But yeah.
I mean, but with the casting thing that we're now going to have next year at the Academy, it is very,
which would have given John Baker 5 nominations.
Bingo, because he does all of his own casting on the films as well, alongside, I believe, his wife and producing partner. Yeah. What's interesting about that and why the Mikey win when it happened wasn't too surprising, outside of 2020, which was obviously a pandemic year, very weird year. Every time I believe the best casting winner has won, it has carried an acting prize with it.
Yeah, that's what Sophia said earlier.
Yeah, and why
it was Anora winning that was such a. It was a surprise, but clearly a bellwether.
It clearly just
that's
showed
when
right
I thought,
there.
Here she comes.
Yeah,
like,
and
okay,
also
this feels right.
And the underperformance on nominations and also total wins for The Substance today was a bit surprising. Was very much pronounced. I mean, a complete unknown, not doing very well. Amelia Perez, literally. Well, yeah, that's just for all those people that are still,
Amelia
out
Perez won
there.
exactly what it was always going to win.
Well, I mean, post the time of the controversy and everything, like this is exactly what we kind of all predicted that the Baptists would do, and they clearly did. And this is probably what the industry and what the Oscars are going to do is Saldaña, probably original song and international feature, though, and clearly I'm Still Here went up against it, and they had an opportunity to go that way if they wanted to, and it's not there.
Sure.
So I kind of feel like when we get to talking about actress here, I kind of feel like I'm getting away from the Fernando Torres narrative, and I do kind of just think that it's between Demi Moore and Mikey Madison because they have clearly the support. One has the narrative, one has the potential Best Picture winner on their hands. I don't see where some people are already like, is this a Adrien Brody situation where Fernando wins and like there's vote splitting amongst Jack and Daniel Day-Lewis, and we don't believe in vote splitting around here, but I just don't see that happening.
Well, I mean, we can go into actress. I wanted to kind of take a look at the below the lines and the things that really kind of solidified a lot of races that, we already felt pretty strong about. And that would be Dune's 2 wins here, which are visual effects and sound. I don't see why that would not just kind of keep going. Wicked's costume design and production design wins here. Both track. It's won every single precursor in both of those categories. Those go hand in hand quite a bit. And
what a shame.
I think if any movie was going to, that's the one that would do it this season. It's not a preference. It's just a truth.
I know. It's just an
I love the
unfortunate.
costumes in Wicked.
Yeah, costumes are great.
Yeah.
I want Firo's little suit, like all day, every day.
I saw someone make it actually, like online, like on TikTok or something.
If I could sew, I would do that. But
so it seemed very easy to me.
Project Runway. I'm a glue gun girl, so like all the way.
You have kind of an Austin Scarlett vibe sometimes. That's a deep cut for the
oh
Project
my
Runway
god,
people.
though. Wow.
Damn.
It's a compliment.
Yeah, no, it is. Yes. Complimentary. I will take that. Okay. It's really throwing me off. I love that. I do want to mention the Real Pain win for screenplay though, because that surprised a lot of people. Most definitely Jesse Eisenberg himself, who in his speech said his wife didn't come because she said he didn't think he was going to win, which is super funny. But yeah, beating Anora, beating Brutalist, it's beating it makes sense and didn't make sense because, leading up with critics groups and everything, it was a pretty far and away screenplay frontrunner. And then it lost WGA this weekend to Anora. So it's kind of a back and forth there, but it's a strange thing that win without the Best Picture nomination at the Oscars. It's kind of what keeps this Birdman 2014 season kind of rearing a little bit, because that's also the case in director. So there's something cooking here that feels a little bit like that. And there isn't a Boyhood as a comparison, but there is a Birdman in looking at the exceptions instead of a rule. It's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting. I mean, the omission of having the Brutalist and the Substance at WGA then lended itself to a head-to-head matchup between Anora and A Real Pain.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is really, I mean, Anora has all the guilds right now, all the important guilds. Like, it has DGA, it has WGA, it has PGA, and going into today, I kind of still felt like if it was going to go to something, it wasn't going to go to A Real Pain because it's not a Best Picture nominee. And I still kind of would tend to lean on Anora or maybe even The Substance at the Oscars. But The Substance just had a really bad day. And I don't think and so maybe it's The Brutalist is in second place. I don't know. Or maybe it is A Real Pain because it has an acting win that is a sweeper.
Yeah.
But it's very rare that outside of that Best Picture 10 for a screenplay winner to occur. It's very, very rare. And I mean, now you'll get all the idiots out there saying, well, see, A Real Pain was number 11 and everything like they did in the past when we had a sliding scale of 8 to 10. But I don't know. I kind of chalked this win up as just like maybe the weirdest one of the day. And I think I'll have to kind of see it happen at Oscars in order for that to occur, because I still feel like Anora could downvote. And if people love that movie, like I think they do, that it could walk away. But I mean, I said the same thing last year with Oppenheimer, and American Fiction won that, but American Fiction was a Best Picture nominee and it had swept through the category and it had beat all the films up against it. So I don't know. It's a real tricky one, I think. But
It is.
I think I'm gonna still at this time lean with Anora because I think it's close. It's a very close category.
I have Anora right now in 1 and A Real Pain in 2. And I think when I was thinking about potential weird wins at the BAFTAs, I did think about A Real Pain as being a possibility because this was the group that said yes to American Fiction and Coda in screenplay categories. That felt kind of odd for them to do. You would maybe predict BAFTA of all groups to go with something else, but both of those movies also won WGA. And here, having Anora winning WGA and just being a stronger film overall, I think I will end up predicting Anora, but I definitely think A Real Pain is in second because I think that if we wanted to make the case that The Substance was a viable choice for original screenplay, like some of us were thinking even before it won Critics' Choice, it just feels like that original idea, it had to win somewhere like here. It had to be competitive because then we could say, well, maybe it would have won WGA if it was eligible, but here it shakes out a little differently. So I think I have to go with Anora.
And it's in a lot of its, sort of love has been internationally. And it's when, and we kind of thought maybe this is going to be the Anatomy of a Fall this year, right? And that it would win a Globe or it would win here. And that hasn't happened. And I think that when it comes down to it, a lot of the Substance's support will be in the makeup category. And then obviously now shifting here with the last couple of days, shifting towards Demi Moore and that package. And it really is coming down to the package, Eric, like the stat breaker that Eric was talking about in that category, where it will come down to the makeup winner versus the Best Picture winner and what will hold the most weight. And I think that that's really, really fascinating for that category.
I do too. And, this was the last stand, I think, for Nickel Boys in Adapted to be able to maybe eke out some kind of women talking American fiction win. And I thought it was possible. It was possible, but Conclave just kind of really, really had it.
I'm crazy. I'm still in my pretend world just for a little bit longer that it could maybe happen.
It wasn't going to happen here, though, guys. Like that was.
I know, but I'm saying it for me, it was always like WGA and Oscar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no. Yeah. I mean, like, exactly. They didn't. Was it the only nomination for the film was an adapted screenplay, right? Here at the BAFTA. So, and it was going up against.
That's all that American Fiction had.
Yeah, well, yeah, but
that's all that it had, but it won everything.
It won everything.
Yeah,
like Nickel Boys just won WGA, and that's it. And I don't Conclave wasn't eligible, right?
Right.
Conclave was not eligible. No.
Amelia Perez, was that eligible?
I
No.
know my logic is making no sense
Like
after
a
what
lot
I
of
just
the
said about Anora.
a lot of the films that were in contention here and at the Oscars were not
Sure, but that happens
night.
every single year.
I totally understand. I totally get that.
I think we were trying to find a path, even if it was being forcibly cut, for Nickel Boys to be able to have a similar thing to women talking in American fiction.
Yeah.
But it does seem like we're chasing that ghost a little bit.
I think there's a possibility that it could happen because it's one of the 10 in picture, but it's going up against a movie like Conclave that does clearly have the passion and support of multiple guilds and across the board sort of, and is a much more traditional screenplay than
I imagine
what Nickel Boys is.
Just making copies of the screenplay and
just sending it to everybody.
Desks of all the Academy voters.
Why didn't they have that as an FYC? That would have been so good.
There's really been a lot of drop balls, I think, this year in terms of FYCs and how they could tie into the movies, and that was definitely one of them. Can you imagine if we all got sent like a photocopy from Focus, like we actually the bulky
in a manila envelope?
Exactly, right?
Oh,
that's how. I mean, that would have been amazing.
Yeah, that would have been awesome.
Anyway,
but sadly, not the case.
Yes. So I don't want to. I don't know if we need to labor too much more on this because I don't think that BAFTA did exactly what I thought it was going to do, in the sense that it did not clear up anything really for us outside of Zoe Saldaña is winning, Kieran Culkin is winning, Adrien Brody is like 90% winning.
He's 95.
If not
100.
And actress is the one that is a little open and on the table, and I don't even think SAG is going to properly clear that up because it might actually muddy the waters even more. But how do you feel post BAFTA with very, very top line with director and picture? Because it certainly could be split like it was today, but why?
I don't know if this makes sense, but I think if the Brutalist won film and director, I would be predicting a split, or I would feel more comfortable in predicting a split and going Anora picture, Corbet director. But there's just something about the overwhelming love for Anora manifesting in multiple places with different groups that just makes me think voters are lazy. They like what they like. If they love Anora, they will just down ballot vote. I'm happy that here we do have evidence that they do like the Brutalist. It is, it's not going to be this, like I kept seeing people talking about how it's going to be The Irishman or how it's going to be Killers of the Flower Moon. And obviously like something crazy could happen, but right now it's not looking like that. So I don't know. I think I will still end up going picture director for Anora, but I'm also curious to see what happens with SAG and to see what it looks like there, to see how my predictions tell a full story. I mean, the BAFTA director precursor is also a good one, but the DGA precursor is a really, really good one.
Yeah.
Especially if the film is as strong as it is, like Anora.
Yeah, I think that I do think that there was clearly support for Anora, and that's clearly showing by the casting win and by Mikey's win. Those are huge wins. I still think for that film, and I think you combined the couple wins they got here with the overwhelming support from the guilds. Like, there's not been a waiver so far from the top guilds. Even, yes, there were other screenplays from the category at Oscar that weren't eligible. It still could have lost, like A Real Pain, into A Real Pain or something else in that category, and it didn't. And so there's that. And then the DGA win followed by the PGA win. And the sort of, like what a voter told Kyle Buchanan walking out of the room at PGA, like, kind of feels done. And they kind of felt like good about it. Like it wasn't like well, this is done. Like there's love and support, and Anora's had that passion throughout the year. I do kind of agree with Sophia. Like there's not a second film here. Like if it was for if this was an All Quiet on the Western Front situation, where that clearly just dominated, right? And we're like, if anything's going to upset, it's maybe that one film. But the spreading of the wealth here, it kind of just proved the point of the season where, yeah, Conclave has this path here. The Brutalist has its path here. But why doesn't Conclave have any actor wins this entire season? Maybe that, why didn't it win casting? Why doesn't the Brutalist why does it have all these technical wins, Corbet, and Brody, but it doesn't win the ultimate prize like it did at Golden Globes? Is the Golden Globe like the Golden Globes sometimes can be a false predictor as well? Not saying that Critics' Choice mattered, but like Brody was the only one there at Critics' Choice, and so you kind of start looking at all of it, and I think that Sophia's dead on, and just when in doubt, go with the movie that has already won on a preferential ballot, and go with the movie that won a guild that's a little bit bigger than the individual guild with the directors here at BAFTA, and that's Anora. And so now SAG can ultimately change this. I mean, it's not going to change it for the Brutalist. Like the Brutalist is done into Oscar night. So you have to take these wins and sort of like, you put this aside until we talk about it next week for the Brutalist. But it opens up then, the possibilities of what we can talk there. But I thought that this was a big win for Corbet because, to Sophia's point, like this is if there was an inkling of an opportunity for that movie to win this category, it needed to win this. And it clearly shows that the international support in that category is for Brady Corbet, but also Sean Baker is everywhere right now, and people love giving him awards, and he's making that last second push. And Neon is doing a fantastic job right now at pushing this movie. They've got it everywhere.
It's such a perfect campaign. It's like
follow your heart.
Follow your heart.
Crazy.
I know
that's a very crazy tagline, which makes no sense
for this movie. Yeah,
it really is. But also, it makes you kind of think about the movie too, weirdly, which then makes you kind of like, oh yeah, oh well, maybe that's not true, but I still kind of like the movie, and it's silly, you know what I mean? But like, I like it.
It's a great tagline because it's still a truth.
Yeah.
It's still something that you should do, even when the end result isn't what you think or want it to be.
Exactly. It fits right with the film. Honestly, it's perfect.
It's crazy. It's
I mean, what's Conclave's been like? Let's get into the Thunderdome. That's like, been on the website and everywhere else this week.
All
like,
it is let the conclave begin.
Let the conclave begin.
It's kind of like, I don't think
like out of Gladiator's textbook.
I don't think
I just thought of Gladiator. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think they've really like taken advantage of a lot of potential with that campaign.
But you have to like think about that campaign for Anora. The night they won after the DGA or won after Critics' Choice, Mikey's doing Q&As. Baker's doing Q&As. He literally did one with you this week, Erik. Like they're everywhere right now. They opened up new screenings, Neon did, so that they could have more conversations with Baker post all this stuff. They have a couple more. They had a couple more before he left. His schedule's been jam packed. They've been making the full blitz. Like Mikey's been back and forth continents, left and right. She really, talk about a campaign that wasn't annoying as hell. You know what I mean? And actually worked with voters, unlike Timothy Chalamet. You know what I mean? So that's been like what has been really telling to me is like people really are still wanting to see this movie and wanting to hear them speak about it. And for Conclave, like I do kind of wonder down the road, like because they weren't able to get so many events with that cast, with that crew, get them all together, kind of like, like the Oppenheimer crew last year, where they were able to coalesce and get the actors involved, and then Nolan came in and helped at the end. Like, I wonder if that's going to hurt as well too. It felt like Neon has done a good job here at the end to make their final push, and yeah, I still think that Honor is going to win, but SAG could. It's not going to help the voting, but it could show us something if Conclave wins that. But if Anora wins that, then let's put it to bed,
Well, and it's like I said, today's February 16th. There's still 2 more days of Oscar voting in case any late voters are uh, somehow uh,
Waiting
waiting, to be told what to do.
or waiting to reject against what was
Sure.
voted. That can happen too. Like I know
Mhm.
everybody's like, oh, because the BAFTAs happened, that's what they're going to now vote on in these next 2 days. It's like, well, that could be the opposite.
Sure.
It's like, look at critics. Like, I'm not saying Critics' Choice is the same thing, but like, clearly, Anora didn't win a single Golden Globe, and they still weirdly gave it Best Picture. Like voting groups and everybody are so weird and different. You can't. And in a year this divided, um, that's interesting. I want to ask you guys something real quick. Best documentary.
Yeah,
What are we doing here?
I
Like, what's
know.
going on this season with this thing?
Clownery is what's going on.
It's crazy.
It's
Like,
It actually worries me heading into to
yeah,
Oscar night.
Yeah. It is kind of insane because yes, Superman, the Christopher Reeve story, won PGA. It just won BAFTA today. It did not make the director cut. And so choosing that, knowing that it's not an Oscar nominated film, which is great. Being able to be outside of,
it's cool.
a lockbox of, feeling like you have to be more of a predictor than a voter in your own industry is great. But this film especially, it's good. It's a very good film, but it's a very by the numbers, celeb biopic doc against some nonfiction films that are just really just exceptional filmmaking and stories. Uh, yeah, I will obviously do our final, prediction show later next week, but I don't think no other land really had a shot at BAFTA anyway. It was lucky to even get nominated. Um, but yeah, not really kind of how I would have seen it play. But boy, don't you love the Critics' Choice curse?
It's that group is cursed in many ways,
Mhm.
Yes.
not just in the documentary category.
Yeah.
But no, it will be very interesting
Yeah.
Yeah.
about
Well,
that
because
movie. No Other Land being the film, still not having a distributor.
does it have
Um,
any industry wins,
Well,
technically?
yeah, it's Cinema Eye Honors and International
Right.
Documentary, all of the really good little ones.
yeah,
Mhm.
but not a
Yes.
big one.
But like Porcelain War has DGA. And
Mhm.
even though
Yeah,
these documentary precursors are very scattered and don't have a lot of crossover, there is some good crossover. Like Porcelain War is the only film that got both PGA, DGA nominations, period. That's it.
that's
The only
that
one.
says something.
It does say something, and it's a really, really loved film.
It's good. It's very
Yeah.
good,
It's
but
from
it is
last Sundance, which also
yeah.
won a prize there too.
But I mean, it will also be if we go into Oscar night. It'd be very telling if No Other Land, which has got the formula and the recipe for a movie to win this category, also being just extremely urgent in the subject matter and everything. For
Especially
it,
considering the current administration wants to turn Gaza Strip into a shopping mall. So
Yep.
exactly. And the idea of that, then the industry then saying right back, that we're fine, we don't need to award this or give this movie a moment. Also, post last year when the whole controversy over what Jonathan Glazer said and everything too, it just reminds me of like my recent interview with Brady Corbet, where he talked a lot about how Hollywood presents itself very liberal, but there's a lot of conservative factors in all the decision making, and it
yeah,
feels like
that's
you know,
that's not even like secret sauce.
but it feels like it's to your point, Eric, with the current administration, it's only being risen with a movie like that, not even being fully embraced, not even having someone to just release this movie or put it under their own studio, and we're 2 weeks from the Oscars.
Yeah.
That says something. It really does.
Yeah.
And if it won, it would win in spite of all that, which would be incredible at this point.
Sure.
But it might not, which would, both things say a lot.
Yeah. I want to go into SAG, but before we do, give a shout out to David Johnson winning the Rising Star at BAFTA. Love that win. Amazing. Love it. Industry high rise. Love it.
I know. I thought it might be Marissa Abella.
I would have been even fine with that.
It was between the two. Yeah.
Was it? Can I ask you guys? Was it kind of
from industry that were nominated? Crazy.
Was it kind of weird that Mikey didn't win this, but she won Best Actress, or that doesn't usually correlate, or is it usually somebody British as well too?
It's voted on by the public, and
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, I was just curious. Yeah. No, I just didn't know if there was like a stat or something that connected it.
No, definitely not.
And then that's right, Sophia. I totally forgot that it's like a Spirit Award.
I follow Marissa on Instagram, and she's been
She's
posting
like
throughout the
pushing
week, like voting is still open.
Vote for me.
I did, yeah.
I'll do a live read outside your house. You know what I mean, or something.
Oh, I love her.
Okay.
All right, yeah, let's jump over and preview SAG, which shouldn't really take that long until we get to kind of the end, because like we said earlier, I don't think anybody on this show is thinking that Saldaña and Culkin aren't winning there.
It's done.
And just wrapping that up. Best actor, are we all Adrien Brody winning SAG? Yeah.
I've been on the Adrien Brody train all year, and I'm not getting off now. He just, to me, felt like when I saw the performance, I mean, anything could have happened and anything can happen, I guess, still, but to me, seeing it, it just felt like the type of performance that sweeps industry, does really well with critics too. It's dominant, it's emotional. Importantly, it's also really sympathetic. So, and he has the narrative. So it feels like something actors will like. And a lot of actors, like if you think about, I don't know, the people who vote for SAG too, I know a lot of times we bring up how big it is and how influencers are a part of that now and everything, but a lot of people, like in New York in particular, I know, I just love him. Like people, like I don't know, I could see it's the type of performance that any type of actor would want.
Yeah.
Or the type of role, rather, too.
And I do think when we do talk about, something like SAG opening up the ranks to influencers or other vocations than acting, we do have to really think about there's 160,000 people. So these new additions aren't like some dramatic paradigm shift in the membership. And I think that sort of becomes like a default thing that people say about voting sometimes. I think that can have some influence in the nomination committee because it's so small. It's only 2,500 people and randomly selected. But when you're looking at the larger group, it's still going to be, commercial actors and TV actors and bit part players and Meryl Streeps and everything in between. That's still the majority of the membership there. Yeah, I mean, I'm also on Brody there. He benefits from having the performance, obviously, to back it up, even though SAG only said yes to him. That's one small little flag. But he lost the SAG when he was up for it the first time. And this is an opportunity now to give him his first. And we'll talk about that in a minute with actress, but this is something that you can kind of really see with the Screen Actors Guild, where they do like being able to award somebody that they haven't had a chance to before, because it either the majority of their career was before the SAG started, or just the right opportunity did not present itself. But it's everything's kind of converging for him to be able to win.
Yeah.
And moving on.
Well, I mean,
I
going back. Okay. So it would also fit the continued narrative of There Will Be Blood.
Yeah.
Because we keep comparing this to that. And I think it's actually a pretty damn good comparison.
Actually, he'd be the Hilary Swank, but yeah.
Probably, yeah, that too. But of the fact that that movie wasn't nominated for SAG Ensemble.
Yeah.
He was the only one. If you had any doubt, now there wasn't another actor nominated in another picture that year in 2007, 2008 in the best actor category. So and it was also Daniel Day-Lewis. And no offense to Adrien Brody, but he's, to the acclaim of Daniel Day-Lewis, he is not that. Like there's very few.
I don't have a cat named Adrien Brody.
There you go.
I have a cat
exactly.
named Daniel Day-Lewis.
Not,
there you go.
I'm not trying to throw any shade on Adrien Brody. I'm just saying no one's Daniel Day-Lewis.
Not yet.
It's an unspoken truth. Yeah.
But I know that everyone has tried to do backflips into why A Complete Unknown did so well at so many places, and it hasn't won anything. And yes, I know that people are going to throw out, like you're saying, Eric, the influencers, or they'll throw out this, or they'll talk about Timmy's online stands or whoever, but those are people online. Those aren't necessarily voters. And yes, the movie is nominated in SAG Ensemble, Norton and Monica Barbaro, that's her name. Some people get that mixed up. But this is the place, though. This is where everyone has said, well, if Chalamet was going to win, it was going to be Critics' Choice and SAG, right? That's been the whole online narrative. This is where this is all started, right? For the most part.
Or he'd be Austin Butler at BAFTA.
Or whatever. But mostly the consistency has been here. As everyone thinks, regardless of all the other things, this is where you can win. There is a slight chance that could happen. And even if it does happen, I don't think that matters to the Oscars. I think The Brutalist is a stronger film than A Complete Unknown. It has been all year. Brody is, of the nominated performances, considered by many to be the performance of the year. And I know that usually doesn't matter, but every time the man goes up there and gives a speech, it is emotional and beautiful and touching, and
cries a lot.
And he cries a lot, and it's people get wrapped up in it. Mm-hmm. And he is, of these actors in here, the one that everyone seems to be this is the performance, and if anything wins for The Brutalist on every one of these nights, it's been Adrien Brody. And so yeah, I'm going with him. I think there's like a 5-10% chance Chalamet could still win. But if he does, I'm actually not going to get too up in arms about it, like probably most people will. I'm still going to pick Adrien Brody to win the Oscar. I think it's over. And I think he's going to win because The Brutalist is a strong film through and through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's I think you'd be hard pressed to really make an argument outside of that.
The only way I could see that changing is if SAG went fucking nuts for this movie and it won ensemble, the Norton thing happened, or the Barbaro thing happened, and Chalamet. They would have to go crazy for it, right? But
there's nothing that's
there's nothing that suggests that, though,
whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly. So
it's not an Everything Everywhere All at Once.
It's not an Oppenheimer.
No precursor proof of that happening. We're switching it up. Yeah,
exactly. So no.
As much as people might want it to happen, or did their little predictions,
he's going to make an Inuyasha movie in about 20 years, and he'll win it then.
Maybe. Right? Hey, maybe. All right, let's go to actress then, because I think that is where there is some real fight. We have Demi Moore and Fernanda Torres winning the Globe. We have Demi Moore winning Critics' Choice, and now Mikey Madison winning BAFTA, the only industry award so far. And Madison and Moore will go head to head at SAG, and as we know, the three of them will not go head to head until the Oscars. My thoughts on how SAG will shake out are a little unsure now. I mean, I felt like Demi Moore probably was going to be able to win this, and that Anora would be either modestly represented at BAFTA or shut out. And I was prepared for that, even as a possibility where, you know, Brutalist and Conclave just battled it out, which they essentially did. But I think to similar reasons of picking Adrien Brody, not similar, but sort of similar. A legacy win for Moore at SAG is the kind of thing that it's almost already engraved. It feels exactly right, and the kind of thing that happens. I think I am probably going to predict Moore, but it's a little bit closer than I thought. What do you think, Ryan?
I see it differently than Adrien Brody and yourself, Eric. I
don't know what Adrien Brody thinks about this.
Then the Adrien Brody conversation we just had. You know
I'll ask him. I'll find a way.
You'll find a way. I think that for Adrien Brody, like the differences between Brody and Moore is Moore has to go off this narrative that she has. And she has to go, and her film, she is the lone nominee as well too. Mm-hmm. Don't know how many times that's happened where the lone nominees have won the lead acting categories, and not have somebody else carry that. I mean, isn't that also, that's the same with Kieran Culkin as well too. So 3 acting wins, not having any other nomination in the other categories or ensemble, that's very rare. But Demi Moore's going up against what we can assume to be the front runner for best picture, and a big contender, I think, in SAG Ensemble here. Mm-hmm. And absolutely, and in Mikey Madison, who is surging at the right time. And it's this thing of narrative versus passion. And Mikey is the celebrated film of the year performance as well, critically speaking. Sure, she doesn't have the Globe and Critics' Choice, but those were voted on over a month ago. You know, Critics' Choice was voted on literally during the horrific fires going on in LA. This whole season has upended and changed since that time period. And, you know, I think that I said last week that I kind of felt that Demi was actually not going to win SAG. I felt she was going to win BAFTA because of the fact that it was the more international film and it was more representative there at that guild than it was here at SAG. So I actually think that it's Mikey Madison's to lose. And I think Demi Moore's right there with her. And the sneaky third one is Cynthia Erivo, because Wicked's dominance here in terms of its 4 nominations is something to keep an eye out. And I think that when we talk about SAG Ensemble, that's a film you have to keep in mind. And it's playing into the whole, what if one movie wins the guilds? What one movie wins BAFTA? And then what if like another movie wins SAG? What do we do then in a very divided year? So, but I think it's Mikey. I think Mikey's going to win this. And yeah, that one feels right. And it also feels like if Mikey wins, I'm still think that like Anora losing SAG Ensemble is okay, like for the film. But if it lost both, maybe a little bit worrisome, but then also it could just mean that the package for Anora doesn't include Mikey Madison. But I don't know what it means about Fernanda because that movie, she's everywhere. She's fucking at BAFTA. She's not even nominated. Like, what are we doing? Like, it's nuts. Like, she's at every party, every turn. The movie's being screened more. They're having more Q&As. Like, they've pushed
Yeah. Well,
Sony Pictures Classics. You can't doubt them either. You know.
They are actually running the actual best campaign right now.
Yeah, they're scary good.
Since she's not nominated for SAG, we're not talking.
No, I know, but you know,
that's for later.
Yeah.
This is tricky for me because where I'm stuck is that Demi as an actress and this performance, she's playing like someone in the industry. She has that, I don't know, she has that narrative. She has those speeches she's given, and I think there is a lot of goodwill towards her, like I described last week, but also they sometimes do and often do like to reward someone because they want to make a statement. That was clearly what happened last year with Lily Gladstone winning over Emma Stone. I think also with Michelle Yeoh beating Cate Blanchett at SAG. That happens. But, and you know, you could also point to Brendan Fraser for The Whale too, winning. Like there are those cases. I think Demi fits in a bit more there, but I also think that like Mikey winning BAFTA it wasn't incredibly surprising for me, but I think that does make her way more competitive at SAG than I was initially anticipating. Because this to me, SAG always felt like, oh well, this is Demi's easiest win probably of the season. Maybe it still is, who knows? But I think I have them neck and neck, and I'm still gonna give Demi the edge for now, but that could change with Anora winning ensemble.
Yeah, and you know they'll Moore and Madison will go against each other at the Spirit Awards the day before SAG. Not that is a thing, but you know, because anyone can vote on that if they have $100.
Yeah, that's even worse than Critics' Choice and not even
It
existing.
kind of. But it's an interesting thing that they kind of do keep getting to go head to head. But yeah, I think it's competitive. It's changed. It's moved around a lot. And we could have a SAG with a different film winner in every category. I think it's much more likely to be the case. Because if we then look at the top and regardless of kind of where we are, we have Amelia Perez winning one. We have A Real Pain winning one, The Brutalist winning one, and either The Substance or Anora winning one. That still leaves plenty of room at the top for a Wicked win, a Conclave win, or Anora. Anora's got the smallest cast, the least well-known cast.
But they got the passion.
But people they really do.
People want to meet that cast. They want to meet Yura.
That cast is hilarious together, and it is one of those
little underdog.
Where yeah, I was on Christina's show this week, and I said the thing about Anora that it's the only film that really has this. It's both a front runner and an underdog at the same time.
Deadly combination.
That's Coda.
There is just no other. It's an unbeatable combo.
It's kind of great.
While everything else has been taking strays like crazy, any that were levied toward Anora have not stuck at all.
No, for sure. And I mean, Wicked has the viral campaign and has been dominating this, and it feels like this is like the thing that they've been trying to win for such a long time during this whole this press thing. Like, you know,
but it also made it feel like the only two people in the movie were Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo, and
but then they nominated Jonathan Bailey.
Award.
You know what I mean?
Those
So
I know that people do want to spend time with the Anora cast, but people also want to spend time with the Wicked cast. That is another like people wanting to be around them in the room. Like just the photos even from like the AFI
Yeah,
luncheon and those
for sure.
activities that were happening, people were looked like they were flocking to
well,
Cynthia Erivo and
I
Ariana
think
Grande.
people want to be with the
Accessibility of those people is very different though, because Arrivo
Mm.
and Grande have not been as physically accessible just because their fame is so huge and they have security guards everywhere. There were security guards around the Wicked table. Like it was crazy. It was wild. Um,
like at CCA.
yeah,
Very much reminiscent
yeah,
of when Barbie had security around their
yeah,
table,
yeah.
but the Oppenheimer and other films there did not. You know what I mean? Like Conclave, which you guys have seen events with Conclave, and people like flock to that cast. Like nobody's, like move out, and they're pushing people out of the
Poor
way to talk to them.
Isabella.
You know what
Poor
I mean? Like
Yeah.
Isabella. That
poor Isabella.
God.
But like, I think that those are the three films because I don't think Amelia Perez is winning this. Not
No.
after everything that's happened in that thing. And
Mm-mm.
I don't think A Complete Unknown is even like that's not going to happen. But I'm leaning towards Conclave just because the veteran actors, the passion for that film, it's the place here that they can award it as well too. It feels like it's a very ensemble film, and I also just again I don't pick the things I like sometimes, and it can work out for me later on down the road, and it can sometimes not. But it would be interesting, like if we went into the night right, and let's say Demi Moore. There's a couple scenarios I find just really fascinating. Conclave win ensemble, but Mikey wins. Demi Moore or Cynthia win, but Anora wins ensemble, right? Or Wicket wins and Mikey or Demi win, right? All three of those scenarios sound super fascinating. The one that obviously closes best picture is if Anora wins ensemble, then it's over, right? Then anything that the BAFTAs just did, it's done.
Yeah.
But Conclave winning, that's BAFTA and SAG Ensemble against PGA, DGA, and WGA. That would be a very interesting week.
It'd be fun.
It would be very fun to talk about.
Yeah.
Both films would have very clear paths that they've had this entire season, though Conclave still has misses across the board that they had on Oscar nomination morning. But there's not as much below the line support for Anora as some of these other films as well too. So it'll be very interesting. But what if Wicket wins? What if that ensemble wins? What do we do there?
What are you predicting then?
I'm predicting Conclave, but these are scenarios you have to talk about if we're previewing.
So you're predicting as well.
I'm predicting chaos.
All different films to win.
I would like it to be clear, but I have Mikey winning right now, and I think Conclave's going to win. But I actually really think, as much as I think Anora and I've talked about their passion, I can't ignore this Wicked. Like Sophia saying, you can't ignore Wicked. Maybe that's just online also too. People, like saying, "Oh, it's going to happen," because I feel like people want it to happen. That's the other thing too. This whole season has proven what we want to happen doesn't necessarily win either. But I mean, like, what? I'll throw it out there, guys. What if Wicked wins?
It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah,
Does it just-
if Wicked
means
wins, I'm still
nothing.
predicting Anora.
Yeah.
It
But
means-
if Conclave wins,
I'm not gonna. No.
no.
Mm-mm. No.
I'm still going Anora
Yeah,
because
I'm not-
still
Yeah.
the PGA the PGA is still so strong
Yeah.
to me, just the way they vote, but also like Conclave doesn't give Parasite energy. There doesn't feel like this need to give it best picture or to see that kind of dominance just if it wins at SAG.
Mm-hmm. And if it was gonna King's Speech, it would have done it. And
Yeah.
it didn't.
I
Well,
mean,
that had director.
Wicked winning to me feels like when Hidden Figures won,
Yeah.
or
Black
one of
Panther.
those types of
Yes.
one of those types of SAG ensemble wins where
It
It's
doesn't
not
matter.
winning picture, but it's a huge movie with a great cast, a diverse cast that a lot of people in the guild have worked with or want to work with.
Yeah.
Clearly popular.
Again,
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to win, but it
I
is
think it's
something just to
possible. Very
yeah,
possible.
that's why I was just curious what it would mean, because people will start their narratives, and I know that they'll be wrong, but like,
And they can. I just don't think
you
it'll
know.
mean anything because
No, I know.
the film has proven the only things that it's going to win
Our,
are
our
costume
production
effects.
design, yeah,
And
because it's not going to win Grande.
That's where it's going to max out.
Yeah,
I saw people still on the Grande
today.
Yes, after today even. I'm like, okay, sure.
With just a SAG win, like even let's
like, what's that? What must that be like? I don't know.
So if she does win, it wouldn't matter though. Even if she delusion. Sorry.
I'm just saying.
No, I was just curious because I think that those are really the only three that can win.
Yeah, those are definitely the only three that can.
Because of like a complete unknown wins.
Here's how a
That's
complete
silly.
unknown wins Best Picture.
Exactly. Like they'd have to sweep. That's the only way at this time that movie even remotely gets close to Best Picture. It'd have to sweep, and then like we'd have to eliminate the other movies off the planet.
Why are we? Yeah, I was gonna say, why are we even entertaining a conversation of something that isn't gonna happen?
So
yeah.
And Amelia's like fifth. Like it's
no
one's voting for that. You know what I mean?
Probably.
But if it won, that would be.
I was kind of hoping for some BAFTA chaos today, and like Carla winning, that would have been amazing.
Can you imagine? I still think she's gonna win the César. I do.
Oh, she's gonna win this. Oh yeah, big time. Of course. And they're gonna invite her and put her in the front row. You know what I mean? They're gonna, you know what I mean?
The in memoriam will just be her tweets.
Oh my gosh.
So we don't. So yeah, that's like no chance that's going to happen. But if it did, that would be crazy.
But I mean, I think I give Anora and Conclave pretty close odds with each other, and then Wicked beneath that. Yeah. It's Conclave has won multiple ensemble awards already.
Yeah,
even before Critics' Choice.
The passion also too for Wicked winning. I mean, its passions were in nominations, but clearly once we've gotten to telecasts, I mean, they really haven't won. I mean, they didn't win kind of layups. Like if Ariana Grande was going to win the Oscar, she should have won Critics' Choice. Like that's a layup for her. You know what I mean? Some of these things. So like, no, I don't see it.
That isn't a performance that suddenly wins the Oscar. That's not how things work.
No, and Saldaña's got a narrative as well too, and being someone that's been in the industry for such a long time, and this is her moment.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's like
multi-billion-dollar franchises. Yeah, she
today. I read her speech at BAFTA and talked about why she made this film, and it was, she has a trans member of her family, and got very emotional up on stage. I know, it's what I'm saying is that everybody's getting emotional and they have their reasons and they're saying their different speeches and they're coming from the heart, much different than last year. And she's navigated their whole controversy the best out of anybody, because even Jacques Audiard went up there and thanked Carla at the fucking BAFTAs today.
Of course he did.
So,
it's all fake.
But she's like staying far away from it as much as possible.
That was wild.
So she'll be the one to win, and then Jacques Audiard will go up in the Oscar and say, "This is for Carla," when they win for Best Song. So,
yeah, wow,
like a bird or whatever she said at the Critics' Choice.
Like a bird.
A little Nelly Furtado.
And when she tried to rip that mic out of there and they had to replace it, that was so wild.
Oh, I didn't even know how much of that like played on.
Oh, it was on there.
It played. It played.
It was aggressive. It was like a.
No, I mean like the that it was broken.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know how much of that was on air because it was hilarious.
It was all on air.
We were cracking up.
Thank you, E.
Because they were stressed.
It's like a scene out of Anatomy of a Fall. She was aggressive with that mic.
Anyway, do you guys have any final thoughts on SAG? I don't think I have any. I think even with an open final award of the night, I still feel pretty good.
What do we think's winning stunts?
I don't know. I forgot what's even nominated.
Deadpool, Wolverine, Sophia's favorite movie.
Oh my God.
Dune 2, The Fall Guy.
Oh, that's right.
Gladiator 2.
Fall Guy.
Wicked.
Fall Guy.
Feels like it should be Fall Guy since that's
I think
like literally
I'll go
the
with
point of the
Fall
movie.
Guy.
Yeah.
Since it's about a stunt man.
What if they just gave it a Wicked?
That'd be pretty funny.
Which is
I
like,
would laugh very
And
hard.
it's really would just be for Cynthia Erivo going around in circles.
well, it's for that book choreography. You know what I mean? Those paper
then,
cuts. Gotta dodge those.
Then give the award to Jonathan Bailey because
Hell yeah.
he deserves
It should go to Gladiator 2 for Paul, and Paul accepts the win.
Oh my God. No, it should go to
Joseph Quinn's head.
Paul for the Gladiator 2 Wicked parody on SNL.
There you go. You know what?
I'm sad he and
Do
Gracie
it.
are still together. Confirmed.
Yes, I saw that yesterday and I was
Yeah.
going to text you, but I was too upset.
Me too. I was
that's
too
real?
upset to send or receive it.
Oh, that's real? They're still together?
Yeah.
No. They're gonna she'll probably be
I
at
love
the
that we're having
premiere
a
of the
fully off the pod conversation on the pod.
I know.
Sure.
Hey,
why not?
welcome back to Director Watch,
My
where
God.
the tangents are real.
Jeez. Anyway, yeah. So no final thoughts on SAG, I guess. All right.
Oh, well, I mean, I think we kind of said everything, and we're just
so.
gonna see.
I
And
think so. We'll just
We're
see what
gonna see.
happens.
I think it's gonna. I think for pretty much though, Eric, it might be a boring night because I think
I don't mind boring. I
I don't
really
mind boring. It'll be interesting to see the speeches though. I think if there are any,
Kieran
there are
Culkin
any-
shows up, sure.
there's that. But no, I think like it'll be interesting to see like if there is any sort of upsets, like if Mikey won or if like Revo won or Timmy wins or whoever, right? Any of the people we're not predicting, if they end up getting up there, like what do their speeches mean?
I mean,
'Cause
there's a handful of people that think Erivo can still win. I mean,
Yeah, no,
Sure.
I mean, yeah, for sure. I don't think it's going to happen. I'm just
yeah,
that seems to be the closest third
yeah,
in that category.
exactly. And there's a lot. That's what a lot of these races end up being is, a very close 1-2, and then here's the closest third if we have to have one.
It could
Mhm.
it could also be a little telling when you watch the telecast. It did happen the last couple of years. The applause in the room for when they do like the individual ensembles. That happened with Everything Everywhere All at Once and Coda, where like those applauses in those rooms you could tell, and Parasite too. You're like, oh, that's some telling shit.
Yeah,
and it's
well,
been
I mentioned for CCA, it's not even close that Wicked would get
Yeah.
the most applause every time they had a nomination or a win.
Yeah.
By far, it wasn't even close. So
we'll see.
yeah, Wicked winning SAG, of course, that would make sense. Sure.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we
We'll
don't have
see.
to do it next year.
Yeah. What does that mean for next year? Exactly.
Yeah. What does that mean for next year? Let me write that article.
Yeah.
Oh
I don't
my
know.
God.
I don't know. All right. Well, until next week, when we are post Spirits and post SAG and have everything that we think we might need to make final predictions, Ryan, where can everybody find you and your work?
Well, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, Blue Sky, Ryan McQuade 77. You can find all my work here at awardswatch.com. If you like podcasts, we have the Director Watch podcast, which is this is a big week. This is Postcards from the Edge. If you have not listened to this Mike Nichols series, you need to listen to this episode. I highly recommend it. It is truly one of the funniest episodes that we've ever done. The discovery that we have on that episode will shock you. And so that's the teaser for that. Also want to give a shout out, since the WGAs were this past weekend, I want to give a shout out to past guest Louis Vertel on winning a WGA award for Pop Culture Jeopardy. He was one of the writers on that. And so congratulations, Louis. And yeah, that's all I got.
I love that win. That's such a good win.
Me too. Louis, great guy.
Sophia, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Sophia_Sim, Blue Sky, Sophia Sim, Letterboxd, Faye Dunaway. You can find my podcast, Oscar Wilde, wherever you listen to podcasts. We're wrapping up our Oscar contender series, and this week we have documentary, animated, and international feature, as well as all three shorts categories. Those are a journey, as always, but we watched them. So get ready for that. And you can find reviews, interviews with some of the BAFTA winners. Well, one BAFTA winner, Adrien Brody, on Awards Watch, and listen to our Working Girl Director Watch episode where it takes us 30 minutes to get to the movie, and then at about an hour left, Ryan says final thoughts. So it's a time. Very fun.
It's a journey.
Recommend.
I
As
just
Diane
started
Warren-
listening to that the other day, and yes, I usually try and clock the when the movie starts getting into the conversation, because in my episode it was also 30 minutes before we did. But the funniest part is that Jay and Ryan are doing a little bit of back and forth in this beginning 30, and Sophia here is just like, I'm just gonna chime in as the guest and say something because I haven't been introduced yet.
It was because Jay said that Dua Lipa was a good dancer, and I
couldn't
had
have
to say
it.
something.
Couldn't have it happen.
I had to say something.
Yes. In pure Jay tradition too, to be able to just say something that with such cold absurdity.
Guys, I think we're doing the best podcast in the world, it's
funny as hell. It's a journey though, and if you're on it, it's a really fun one to be on.
It really is. I mean,
Diane Warren,
I was going to say like Diane Warren. There you go.
Yeah,
I can't wait to talk about that category next week. It's going to be so much fun.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk about the category too. Anyway, all right. Yes, you can find me at awardswatch.com, awards _ watch on Twitter, and Awards Watch everywhere else. Like I said, we'll be back next week with final Oscar predictions and the results of SAG and Spirits. And that's it until then. Thanks everyone for listening.